Guilty.
He entered his pleas one by one to the names of victims he had forgotten or never even knew.
For the death of Gary Ruiz.
Guilty.
What drove Gary Leon Ridgway to kill so many women?
I picked prostitutes because I thought I could kill as many of them as I wanted without getting caught. Is that true?
Yes.
Ridgway says he hated prostitutes, but also chose them because they were easy prey. In 1982, he began murdering them virtually.
Out of the way, please.
Made any arrests?
No comment. Nothing to say.
Gonna die.
For nearly 20 years, a quiet river in Washington state became the final resting place for dozens of women whose names were slowly erased from public attention. One by one, bodies surfaced in wooded areas, ravines, highways, and shallow graves, some bound, some clothed, others left exposed to the elements. Many were so decomposed, they were unrecognizable. At first, these deaths seemed disconnected, almost random, until investigators realized they were witnessing one of the largest serial murder sprees in American history. The man responsible did not look like a monster. He did not live on the fringes of society. He worked a steady job, attended church, spoke politely to co-workers, and even volunteered information to police. For years, he lived openly among the very people searching for him. His name was Gary Leon Ridgway, and he would come to be known as the Green River Killer. Gary Leon Ridgway was born on February 18, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah, before his family relocated to Washington state. From early childhood, Ridgway's life was marked by dysfunction, emotional instability, and deeply disturbing family dynamics. His mother, Mary Ridgway, was controlling to the point of obsession, particularly regarding hygiene and sexuality. She frequently bathed Gary well into adolescence, inspected his body for cleanliness, and shamed him relentlessly for bedwetting, a behavior that persisted far longer than normal. Psychologists later noted that this combination of humiliation, sexual repression, and maternal dominance played a critical role in shaping Ridgway's violent fantasies. He struggled academically, tested with a low IQ, and was socially awkward, often described as painfully quiet and forgettable. But beneath this unremarkable surface, Ridgway developed compulsive sexual urges and an obsession with control, dominance, and punishment, particularly toward women. By his teenage years, warning signs were already present. Ridgway stabbed a young boy, nearly killing him. He later admitted to sexually assaulting a child and committing acts of extreme violence long before his murder spree officially began. Yet due to limited evidence and systemic failures, he avoided long-term imprisonment and remained free. As an adult, Ridgway blended seamlessly into working-class American life. He held a steady job as a truck painter, married 3 times, and was known by co-workers as quiet, obedient, and unassuming. He attended church regularly, even seeking religious counseling for his impure thoughts. This facade of normalcy became his greatest shield. Nobody suspected that behind this dull exterior lived a man capable of unimaginable violence. Ridgway understood how society viewed him, as invisible, and he exploited that invisibility with terrifying efficiency. In 1982, women began disappearing from the SeaTac Strip, an area of King County known for prostitution, drugs, and transient populations. Many of the missing were teenagers, runaways fleeing abusive homes, young women already living on society's margins. Their disappearances were often dismissed or reported late, giving the killer a crucial advantage. Soon bodies began appearing near the Green River, wrapped in plastic, strangled, and discarded like refuse. Investigators quickly recognized a pattern. The victims were almost always female, almost always vulnerable, almost always strangled. Media attention exploded, and the unknown murderer was given a name: the Green River Killer. Ridgway's method was brutally consistent. He would pick up victims in his vehicle, often promising money or drugs. After engaging in sex, he strangled them, sometimes with his hands, sometimes with ligatures. He frequently returned to the bodies to reposition them, engage in necrophilia, or move them to new locations, deliberately complicating forensic timelines. The scale of the murders forced law enforcement to respond with unprecedented resources. The Green River Task Force was formed, involving dozens of detectives, forensic experts, and FBI profilers. Thousands of tips flooded in. Hundreds of suspects were interviewed. Polygraph tests were administered en masse. Gary Ridgway surfaced as a suspect early in the investigation. He lived near dumping sites, frequented sex workers, and even failed a polygraph test. But despite these red flags, police lacked the forensic evidence necessary to arrest him. DNA technology at the time was primitive, and many crime scenes had been compromised by exposure and decomposition. Incredibly, Ridgway cooperated willingly with police. He spoke calmly during interviews, offered theories about the killer's psychology, and even suggested investigative strategies. All the while, he was continuing to kill. By the late 1980s, murders appeared to slow. Investigators speculated that the killer might have died, moved away, or been incarcerated. In reality, Ridgway had simply adapted. He changed dumping locations, refined his methods, and became more cautious. Years passed. Families waited. Victims remained unidentified. The river kept its secrets. In the late 1990s, advances in DNA forensic technology allowed investigators to revisit cold cases. Preserved biological evidence from Green River victims was retested using modern methods. In 2001, the results were conclusive. Semen samples from multiple victims matched a single source: Gary Leon Ridgway. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the case was airtight. On November 30th, 2001, police arrested Gary Ridgway at his workplace in Seattle. He did not resist. He did not deny the charges. He remained eerily calm, fully aware that the evidence against him was overwhelming. Within days, Ridgway began confessing. Over months of interviews, Ridgway confessed to 49 murders, though investigators believe the true number may exceed 70. He described killing as a compulsion, stating that he targeted sex workers because he believed they were less likely to be missed. He led police to burial sites, identified remains, corrected investigators' assumptions. He spoke of murder with chilling detachment. Not pride, not remorse, but calculation.
I'd say the first 10 days I was still lying, and the last 4 to 5 days I've been telling the truth.
This revelation from Ridgway infuriated investigators. For the first 2 weeks, he'd led them astray with lies and game.
I don't know how it happened with the first one. Maybe the first one I choked like this, but I don't remember how I did the very first one. I just don't.
Ridgway was having trouble remembering his first kill, remembering important details.
And then you had these two white.
Yeah.
So detectives interrupted interrogations with angry outbursts.
That victim was shot.
Was shot?
Was shot. So start thinking about what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay?
I thought it was up there. I dropped her. I didn't remember being back here. It's more logical.
And when Ridgway had trouble pinpointing the remains of an undiscovered victim,
What do we got? A stupid Gary for this one, or what's the deal here?
detectives berated him and took him back to his cell. And since the killer relished trips to his crime scenes, investigators used that to their advantage. Here, Ridgway's all ready to go, but a detective, angry that he's been misled, abruptly cancels the trip.
You're not going anywhere. Take your ass back to the cell, and when you want to start telling the truth, you let us know.
What would you like for lunch?
It's just a Big Mac and fries.
When he did tell the truth, they rewarded him with his favorite meals, and Ridgway insists in the end he eventually told the truth to spare his own life and the victims' families.
And then I got to thinking the families would like to know where their daughters are buried and how they died.
Prosecutors charged Gary Ridgway with 48 counts of aggravated first-degree murder, later increasing the total to 49. But a full trial was expected to take years, potentially re-traumatizing victims' families and leaving many victims unidentified. To avoid this, prosecutors offered a plea deal, and in 2003, Ridgway agreed to plead guilty in exchange for life imprisonment without parole, full cooperation with authorities, disclosure of burial sites, and confessions to additional murders. The decision deeply divided victims' families, with some seeking the death penalty and others prioritizing answers and closure.
The Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway.
Back in the 80s, this was the boogeyman.
Haunted Western Washington for decades.
He's an evil monster who invaded our lives here in Washington State.
The effort of tracking him down and finding the bodies of his victims is something former King County Sheriff Dave Reichert still thinks about.
You don't forget collecting the bodies of little girls in various forms of decomposition. Almost a year ago, I saw a photo of him in a wheelchair. He didn't look too healthy then.
News that has him thinking about the victims' families.
I'm really thinking about the families and what they're going through right now, because every time this case comes up, they have, it just brings up everything.
Ridgway avoided the death penalty with a plea deal, agreeing to provide information to investigators on where additional victims were.
On December 18, 2003, Ridgway formally pleaded guilty to 49 counts of aggravated murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole, along with additional consecutive life sentences and hundreds of symbolic years added. During sentencing, victims' families delivered emotional statements, while Ridgway showed little visible reaction.
The one thing that I want you to know, I was that daughter at home, waiting for my mom to come home.
May God have mercy on your pathetic soul, because the rest of us who know the truth about you won't.
I don't wish for him to die. I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
You are a loser, you're a coward, you are nobody, you're an animal.
The Green River Killer case revealed a legacy of systemic failure, exposing how marginalized victims were repeatedly ignored, early warnings were dismissed, and technological limitations were exploited, allowing the murders to continue unchecked. Even today, many of Ridgway's victims remain unidentified, underscoring the lasting consequences of these institutional shortcomings. Gary Ridgway was not brilliant or charismatic. He succeeded because no one was looking closely enough. The Green River did not create a monster, it simply hid one.